What's up, people? I am back for another video. We are continuing on with the Batman. I'm just going to call it in general the Batman franchise. We are doing Batman Returns, which is another classic. This was one I watched when I was really, pretty much not long after I watched Batman 89. And man, this movie is just so good. And I said it in my last video. I slightly prefer 89, but Returns is probably the better movie. It just is. It's better shot. It's better edited. I'm going to say it's better scene transitions compared to 89. I love 89, but some of the scene transitions are kind of clunky. And no Vicky Vale. I think Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Keaton had such chemistry. Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer isn't accurate at all. Selena Kyle's not, she's not really a thief either in this movie. When you rewatch it, she's not really a thief. She doesn't really steal anything. She's more about revenge on Max Schreck, which I love Christopher Walken in this too, as you can kind of I call him the third antagonist. Thought he was really good along with Penguin. The aesthetic of this film, you already had the great aesthetic of the first one, but adding that snow and that Christmas look really makes it even more better. Burns Gotham, in my opinion. I think it pops even more with the whole winter look. I love it. When, especially on the scenes, any scenes on the rooftops and all that. Michelle Pfeiffer, yeah, she wasn't a fully accurate Catwoman in terms of comics, but she was great. Her performance, to this day, we have not had a definitive Catwoman, live action wise, that has even matched Michelle Pfeiffer, in my opinion. Trying to think, Zoe Kravitz didn't do it for me. Anne Hathaway, I think if Dark Knight Rises, I think Nolan was just out of. I can agree with people who say he was mentally out of it because of what happened with Heath Ledger, because he wanted Ledger in the film. So I think with what happened there, I think I can kind of agree that he probably was just mentally just done. So I'm wondering if it's the same thing here. So that's why I think here Anne Hathaway, maybe he just didn't put his all into that Catwoman. Because I actually think Anne Hathaway probably could have been a great Catwoman if she was better written. It's just, she's better than Zoe Kravitz, who I just thought was very forgettable. So to this day, we have not had a great Catwoman, another great Catwoman like Michelle Pfeiffer. The way she carries herself, that switch, even at the start where she's, obviously the more timid Selena Kyle, and then she gets, killed by Max, and then basically trains, and essentially she kind of gets more almost powers. That's the only other difference. Yeah, Catwoman doesn't have powers in the comics. She's just, very trained, but it's fine. And just the look and her chemistry with Keaton was just unmatched. Every scene they were in together, she ate the scene. They ate the scenery together. They both really we haven't had a Batman and Catwoman dynamic like that since. Which that's the other sad part, is we have not had a really great Catwoman Batman dynamic since. Or some people say the Bat and the Cat. We haven't had a great dynamic like that since. I thought Bale and Selena could have. I think I'll admit I was a bit more I was in, I guess you can call it height nose, is what you want to call it, in Dark Knight Rises at the time. So yeah, but you really rewatch it. I'm not gonna say they didn't have chemistry, but I think that they didn't really explore it as much as they could have. And it probably goes back to just Nolan's heart wasn't into it, man. I could really believe in that, So, and then I know a lot of people try to act like Pattinson and Kravitz had great chemistry. I don't think they did at all. I never felt like the Bat and the Cat. I never got that dynamic from them. Granted, I've only seen the movie once, and it's gonna stay that way because this little sidebar. I already reviewed the Batman 2 years ago, when it came out. This isn't when I'm gonna re-review BVS, because that was around when I reviewed it at the time. I feel like I was a different person person then, and in terms of like my videos and stuff. So I almost feel like I almost feel like it makes sense to do an updated one, like a newer one. But whereas the Batman, I only reviewed 2 years ago, and I don't feel like I'm that different now than I was 2 years ago when so. But you know, just everything about the movie, I thought you get a lot more Keaton as Bruce. You get a lot more good scenes with him as Bruce. Some good moments with him and Alfred. I don't really have any criticisms minus Gordon. Gordon's pointless in this. That's probably the only really criticism I have, but it's minor. He was pointless. For one, y'all know he's not Gordon to me. I like that actor. I think he's fine, but he should have just been a new character, not been Jim Gordon, because he was not Gordon to me. I wonder if it's a case of Tim Burton just didn't see Gordon as like a big character, in the front within the world, and he's like, you know what, there's better characters I can focus on, and maybe that's why his Gordon never really got any focus. I'm like believing that now. I'm like starting to wonder that, because it does feel like that a little bit, like, because he probably just didn't see Gordon as like a big deal character. He's just like, he's just a cop guy. I could see that. So plus you get more Batmobile play. I really love and then now Danny DeVito as the Penguin. I had to save him for last. His Penguin is so good. The way he played the character, the look. Yeah, the only difference is that whole origin is, I'm going to say it again, is not accurate to the comics. Penguin was an elite, arguably. Like, there's stories where he becomes the mayor and stuff and runs for mayor. And he runs the Iceberg Lounge, which a lot of the elite do go there. So it's not that's the only difference. I'm okay with what Burton was going for here in this film. It works. He's basically the main villain, I would argue. Him, Catwoman a little bit, but she's only scheming with Penguin. I feel like because she wanted to get Batman out the way. I've always said this. I never really looked at Catwoman as a villain compared in the same vein. You look at Scarecrow, even Penguin, Riddler. I've never looked at her like that. I've always looked at her. She's a thief. She goes in for herself. Yeah, she'll fight Batman if she has to, but to try to get away. But she never was like evil. I guess that's the word I'm going for here. So, she does stuff for herself. Like in this movie, it made sense. Like she wanted to get Batman out the way, so they frame him and make it look like a murder, and that's when you get the scene when the cops just shoot him, which was, to be honest, was kind of a stupid scene. And man, Batman does kill a lot of people in this movie. But going back to Penguin, the look is just so iconic. It's so creepy. I can understand watching that as a kid and just being like, what the fuck is that? And DeVito really nailed it. Like to this day, I guess a lot of people's eyes, live action wise, he's a definitive Penguin. Granted, we haven't really had a lot of live action Penguins besides the cartoon, not the cartoon, the original Adam West series, this movie, and yeah, because he was never in the Nolan trilogy, which I think was kind of retarded in the long run. I think Penguin could have easily have been a villain that he would have fit the Nolan trilogy perfectly, because Penguin doesn't necessarily have powers. He has the umbrella, which is fucking cool in this movie. I love the scene with the fucking penguins where he, controls them. That was kind of a cool scene. I like the gang he works with. I forgot what the gang's called. It's like the Red something, which was pretty good. Like he really took over the town, and the scene in the end before he dies is relatively good too. The final act is really fucking well done. It is a great film. Batman Returns is definitely one. If you're a Batman fan, watch it. It's perfect. Watching 89 and Batman Returns back to back works. It just fits. And I will say Batman interacts more with the DC world in this. That's one of the reasons I like it. I can kind of say is a little bit better in that sense too. Because minus the Joker, I really feel like there's more of a Batman's world in this. Like you get more of Gotham and stuff like that. So overall, this is probably another 10 out of 10 film in my opinion, in terms, especially as a comic book film. If we're just rating as a comic book film, it is fucking perfect. I understand why some people say this is their favorite Batman movie. Mine is, I'll be honest, technically too. I think it's 89, tied with Begins. I love Batman Begins, and that's gonna be a fun review when we get to it. What sucks is after this review, we're gonna be kind of going into the bad years for Batman. I mean, Forever has moments. I don't hate it, and I would really be interested to see the Schumacher cut of Forever, but there is a lot of bad. That's when, like, Batman, they went the more goofy direction, because apparently this movie didn't do great at the time, because a lot of people thought it was too dark. So that's unfortunately why they went more that Schumacher direction, which is fucking weird, because Schumacher's done some great action films and some films that are pretty dark. Like A Time to Kill with Samuel Jackson. That is a fucking pretty dark movie. So, not dark in the sense of like probably this dark, but it's pretty dark in terms of like the storyline. So I just think it's weird that they decided you got to go more lighthearted, and unfortunately that's what happened, and that's how we got Forever, and obviously Batman and Robin, which I'll admit I can watch as a meme, but yeah, that's unfortunately it's gonna be the next road for a while until we get to the Nolan trilogy. But yeah, but I understand Returns just has it all, so I get why a lot of people, and to this day I've said it, I'll say it again. Michelle Pfeiffer is the definitive Catwoman. That's probably gonna be the title of the video. Is Michelle Pfeiffer is Catwoman. We have not had in my opinion, a great Catwoman since, at least live action. Which is pretty disappointing to be honest. But yeah. So before we get into the review, I'm gonna figure out what to do tonight, because I do want to do a video, because I want to test out my new light my dad got me. So I'll figure out something to review tonight. If not review, I'll find something just to talk about. Just think of a topic to talk about. Actually, you know what? I do. It might be another kind of wrestling related one. Since Raw is announced the other day, and we're probably going to talk about this more on the podcast. They announced on Raw this week that it's going back to 2 hours. They're going back to the 2-hour time frame for the remainder of the year. So I'm going to talk about that for a little bit. Figured, why not? So I'll have something to talk about. So yeah, I'll be doing that tonight. Tomorrow will be Superbad, which will be fun. That's one of my favorite, like, after Tropic Thunder, it is probably one of my favorite, like, 2000s comedies. It was just a perfect time. One of the few movies with Michael Cera I actually like. I don't hate Michael Cera. I just feel like after this movie, he kind of started just playing always the awkward guy. He never really changed it up a lot. That's one of the reasons I don't really love, this is a hot take, I don't really love Scott Pilgrim. I like the book more. I'm not a big fan of the movies. The movie, I know a lot of people love that movie, but for me, it was Michael Cera at his worst. It's just the same awkward character, just at least in Superbad, he has the dynamic with Jonah Hill, so that at least made it work. And then, McLovin, whereas Scott Pilgrim was just him. Maybe one day I'll do a review of that movie. But yeah, so Superbad's gonna be fun to review tomorrow. I have not watched that one in like 3 or 4 years, I think. It's been a little bit since I've seen it. So not too long, but I don't know, I just hadn't had the urge to rewatch it. There was a period I wasn't rewatching a lot of comedies besides like some of the old 90s ones. So but other than that, yeah, so tonight, Raw going back to 2 hours discussion, and then tomorrow, Superbad, and then Friday the 13th, related video. So, but anyways, guys, Saturday, Been Down Podcast, link will be in the description. Let's get into to Batman Returns. So the movie starts off with this. It's basically a little bit of an origin story. You get Oswald's origin that his parents saw how ugly he was, basically threw him in the water, which I'll admit that was pretty dark. Just seeing them throw the fucking carriage in the fucking wall. I guess it would be river. Um, was pretty fucking dark. And he's raised by penguins. Then we're kind of in current day. Um, and Gotham is doing a little bit better. Batman's, befriending with the community because there's a scene with him visiting a thing. Um, and, we're introduced to Max Shrek, who basically meets Oswald, and Oswald basically blackmails him because his gang attacks like some kind of like event. You know how like these Batman movies and Batman stuff go. Some rich event gets attacked by criminals. That night, Max kills or nearly kills or attempts to kill Selina, who's a bit more timid because she finds out his plan to basically take Gotham's electricity. So yeah, he kills her, or attempts to. She gets basically the cat. It's assuming the cat's reviver and essentially kind of gets cat powers. Oh, I should have mentioned there's a scene where Batman rescues Selina. She nearly gets robbed, and yeah, so and so Oswald and Shrek start working together. They stage because Oswald wants to get reintegrated into the Gotham elite because that's what he was until he was discarded. So, and I love the Arctic. Basically, Oswald is at a zoo. He lives in a zoo. That's his hideout. Yeah, it's a little bit different. Do I prefer Iceberg Lounge personally? Yes, but I think for this and what Burton was going for, I'm fine with it. That's one of those things. That's one of those changes I'm very much okay with for this movie. You know, so he stages like a kid, basically a scene where he saves a baby, makes him look all good and all that, and he starts, just chatting up with the elites and all that. And then this is where Catwoman's introduced, which I really love her introduction. She just killed like a guy's trying to rob this lady, and then she attacks him and like scratches the shit out of his face. Like this movie doesn't hold back on the violence. It's like this movie is pretty dark. One of the criticisms I've seen a few criticisms of this film is that Batman is a bit more of a background character. I disagree. There's scenes where he's investigating. Like he actually does a couple of scenes where he's just doing detective work, which is straight up great. And the first meeting of Oswald and Batman is perfect, and that's when Catwoman jumps into. It's like a perfect scene, and then we get pretty much the fight scene / interaction between Batman and Catwoman. While this is going on, Bruce starts dating Selina. They just have a better chemistry than him and Vicky did, and that's one of the reasons I think I love '89. But I didn't need that love angle in that one. You could have just saved that for this film, because I just think it works better. And it's not just because I think it's Selina Kyle. That's why I think it works better. I think it's just they actually felt like they had good chemistry. I didn't really think like as a kid it didn't bother me, but when I watched it like as an adult and you just notice more as like I noticed more, I was just like I didn't really feel like him and Vicky had really that much chemistry at all. I just felt like, oh, we got to have the obligatory love interest in it. So then Penguin and oh, before that we get that this is gonna be the thumbnail of the video. The scene where she's on top of Batman. Actually, no, this is a little bit later. Sorry, I got the scene wrong, but I'll talk about it later. She schemes with Oswald because they basically want to destroy his image. They think if that does that, that will get Batman up the way. because they want to get Batman out of the way of their plans and stuff. Even though Penguin does eventually fuck her over. Um, and and that's the thing. Like, what makes this movie perfect? It is a bit more of a villain movie because Oswald and even and Catwoman just have a great you know their backstories are a bit more really well done in this, so it is a bit more like it can be understandable. It's like a little bit with the Dark Knight, that has a little bit of the same thing with Ledger, right? So but I don't necessarily think Batman takes a back seat. I love the scenes where he's just investigating, obviously fighting guys. He's just driving around the Batmobile in the snow, which it just looks so good. The shot of the Batmobile just driving in the snow with the snow just dropping, it is just, man, chef's kiss. And um, so they kidnap one of some like rich chick, and they lure Batman out. She then takes her to the roof, and they release bats on her, obviously scaring her. But it's basically to make it look like Batman did it. But I'm like, do you guys remember? The problem is, I will agree, the cops are pretty dumb because I'm like, where was the whole story of Batman? They never mentioned there's actual bats. It's just a guy in a bat suit. So why would they assume it's Batman? Because there's a scene where Bruce is on a date with Selena, and news comes on, and it's like funny. I love the scenes where they have to go around like trying to hide their secrets because like she was like trying to like hug his side, and he has like scratches on his side, obviously, so he felt it, and then he's like going at her arm, and her arm has like I think it's like a burn or some kind of mark on it, so she had to hide it. And it's like then the fucking lies they tell Alfred to tell each other is fucking funny because now it's being seen as Bruce doing a murder because they found like a batter egg with blood on it. It's like I do love that little neat that little stuff in this movie, and then so Batman gets shot because he looks like he killed the woman. And this is the scene I was talking about. That's gonna be the thumbnail. It's just, and they're under a mistletoe. Like, their chemistry is just so good. Like, they really nailed the Batman Catwoman dynamic. Even if it's a bit different compared to the films. I mean, the actual comics, it still works, ultimately. It still has the heart of what it is. So, yeah, Batman then has to recuperate. Penguin turns on Catwoman, drops her through the roof, so she has to recoup from her injuries. And then basically Penguin takes control of the Batmobile, which I love this scene. And Batman has to try to fight because one of his gang pretty much fucks with it. He's able to fuck with it and fuck with internals where Penguin can take control of it, but Batman regains control, and he's able to use audio of Penguin basically shitting on the people, basically fucking up Penguin's image, so then he goes full on embracing his animal side, which I actually really love. Though that was probably, in terms of acting, DeVito's best scene. I love that. Like, he just snaps and is like, you know what? I'm going to embrace what I am. I love that scene. It's just well acted. You really see, like, how good DeVito really nails it. Like, especially how angry he is. So, then Catwoman. This movie's pretty much one of those movies too. It's just kind of like '89. It just goes. There's a scene where Batman, we got some more Batmobile scenes, just killing people. Batman taking out bad guys, taking out some of the gang before he confronts Penguin. And before that, Penguin shows up in the giant ducky at this like rich people's ball and kidnaps Max. And he plans on killing basically the rich sons of Gotham or whatever. Basically that's kind of the little gist of the plan. And then Batman shows up. Obviously everybody shows up in the end at Penguin's hideout. Really good final act. Penguin gets knocked out. And Catwoman wants to kill Max, but she refuses to let, like, Bruce basically trying to talk her down to come with me, let Max get arrested, and she refuses. So she basically basically dies, unfortunately. It's pretty sad. She blows them both up. and you just see Max and then Penguin tries to kill him, but then he can't. Tries to kill Batman, and he can't, and he ends up succumbing to his injuries too. Pretty sad ending for everybody. Well, minus Max, but like Catwoman, even Penguin. Like even though and yeah, Penguin has a little bit of a sympathetic aspect, but he was still a bad guy. He wasn't like sympathetic, but feel bad for me, but I'm gonna do bad things. He still gotta feel bad for me. No, he was still when he was doing the bad stuff. He was still okay. He's still a bad guy, and Batman still has to stop him. Same with Catwoman. It's really well done. We get the little nice ending with Bruce and Alfred in the end. It's just a well done film. I love Batman Returns. This movie is to me one of the upper echelons of Batman films for sure. It's 89 slash Begins, and then this film are like when I think top echelon of Batman films, it's those three. This is such a well done film. Like the cinematography, the acting, the story, the performances, just everything about it. It just unfortunately didn't do great, and that's when they went this more kiddie direction, and that's when we're gonna be next week when we watch Batman Forever. Who knows? It might age a little bit better. I haven't seen it in some years. I remember one of the last times I watched it, I was like, okay, it's not terrible, but you could tell the direction it was going. There was already some cheese in it. Jim Carrey was basically the Mask. Don't get me wrong, I love the Mask, but you could clearly tell I don't know if it was him or if Joe Schumacher was like, you were just the Mask, so just be the Mask as the Riddler, when the Riddler and the Mask are two different personalities. So, and then Two-Face, which on paper, I don't think Tommy Lee Jones would be a bad Two-Face. I just think he was trying to ham it up with fucking Jim Carrey. He was trying to out-ham Jim Carrey, and it didn't help. You could tell the tension was even there when they were filming scenes together. And he was trying to out-ham Jim Carrey, and it just did not work. I really hated the Batmobile design. It looked like there's nothing wrong with obviously even a good design is gonna be made into a toy, but it shouldn't. It's like a meme when it just looks like it's clearly made to be a toy, and it just was a worse design. I hated the whole fit. I thought it looked terrible. I've always hated the Batman Forever / Batman and Robin Batmobile, especially what we got. Why I don't understand why they just did not keep the 89 / Returns Batmobile. I will never understand that, especially if they're supposed to technically be in the same continuity. Why not just keep the Batmobile? I don't know if it was because it's like we already made toys of that one, so we got to make a new Batmobile so you can have a new toy. That's probably what it fucking was. That's probably what it was. They were like, okay, we already made toys of that Batmobile. You could just update the look a little bit. I wouldn't even mind if they just updated it a little bit and you can make a toy. No, they're like, we're just going to make a brand new one. And it looked like shit. That is probably, if I had to say, probably the worst Batmobile design is that one. I don't love the Batman one. I don't. But at least it still had some cool scenes. I don't even think there's any cool moments with this Batmobile at all in those movies. But, so, yeah, that's what's sad, because Batman Returns is so fucking great, and unfortunately, the dip. But, anyways, guys, I can't wait it's gonna suck to get through those two movies. Actually, you know what, no. I think I'm gonna have fun with Batman and Robin. Yeah, it's bad, but, that's gonna be a fun little review to do. Talking about the ice puns, just everything about it. Forever I have not seen in a long time, so we'll see if maybe it ages a little better. But other than that, we're going to talk about Raw going back to 2 hours later tonight, or even later today. I don't know. We'll see what time, how I'm feeling. I'll figure out a time, and maybe we'll do it even a little earlier. But other than that, so that'll be today, and then tomorrow, super bad review. Anyways, guys, I'm ready to wrap it here. Pin Down Podcast, Saturday. But other than that, guys, I'll talk to y'all later, or even in a little bit. Peace.